Right, I've got to the point where I'm just cleaning it out. Just a little die grinder, one of the tools that I use when I'm doing heads, potting heads out. So just lightly, you know, that's all nice and smooth like on the way you can see where I've done it. That's where I hit it with the flappy disc in that bit, but this is where it's on with the that bit. We've just got a little bit left to do in here. And that is that cleaned out. There was one or two little stubborn bits there. Right, where's my hair going? Right, so that's that all nice and smooth. That one's all nice and smooth. I was managed to do all that one with the flappy disc, so it wasn't so bad. What I'll do is I'll give it a wipe out with a bit of solvent spray and a rag. give it another blowout with airline, and then we'll make a start on this, on the exhaust flap. I was pointing at that then, you can't even fucking see it. On this bit here, we'll get this flap out. So, what I might do is just make myself a quick brew. Right, I'll be back in a minute. Right, I'm not going to film all this because I'll just be sat here for fucking quite a while, to be fair. But basically what I'm doing, or what I'm going to do, is I've jammed the flap open with well, it's actually that pry bar that I was using to take the shit off where the cat had been, and I've got a hacksaw blade, and the job is basically just cut through it. So it'll take a while, especially when you keep jamming it. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing. Once I've gone through that side, I'll go through this other side, like this. I'm going through this bit at the minute, then I'll go through this side. The flap itself will then just pull out, because they are designed to go in after this body. They don't build the body around it. So I'll pull the flap out. There's a little bit that sits in a nugget here, sort of like, almost like a little bushing. That'll come out. Pair of bent nose pliers will be able to just lift that out. This will come out. But when I get to that stage where the flap's going to come out, I'll switch it back on. But for now, I'm just going to be hacksawing through this little bar in the middle that holds the flap in place. So for now, I'll knock you off, and I'll come back once I've got this cut. Right, hopefully won't be too long. Right, I'm knackered. That took some cutting through. It's at times like that where I wish I had one of them reciprocating saw things. But I'm through, so I'll just reach in. There's your flap. As I say, cut off at each side. Torch, so let's see. There's the bit off the end, which was what I cut through. So now I just need to get this bit to come out. I'm not 100% sure what's actually holding it in, so turn it over. Right, let's have this spring out. actually. I'll just have a look up there. Make sure there's no out on the inside. Right. I don't actually know what's holding that in now. But what my plan is with the grinder obviously, is to trim all this bit here. I'll lift this camera up a bit and zoom in a touch. All this bit round here that's sticking up, I'm going to cut that off all the way around and then just sort of tidy it up a bit so that I haven't just got this block sitting out in the middle of nowhere with nout in it anymore. So I shall make a start by putting a disc in it. Boy, took nearly 20 minutes to cut that off. Right, and that bit that I was trying to push through has actually got through. And that's there. Oh. Right, just step that back on there so you can still see. Right, so I've just got that little bit left to cut off, and then this lot will just come off. And then with the flappy I'll because this actually I'll probably fucking just round that off, so I'll probably end up doing that so it looks a bit tidy. Because inside that's actually solid. So I think pull that round there. Just realise that you can see now. Let's cross a little bit. I don't want to hold that there now. Right, I'm going to have a clean up in here. Right, anyways, you get the gist of what I'm doing here. So, all this lump that was on here, it's all solid cast into that piece. So what I'm going to do is trim it as much of it off as I can, and then just sort of use the flappy disc and just round that round, and then when it's back on the bike, obviously when I weld this hole back up, I'm going to put something into that and weld that up and then flash it off, so there won't be a hole in there, but it'll just look tidier than having a fucking block stuck out that you can see. But the bench is getting a bit full of stuff, so I'll knock it off. I'll finish off cutting all that up and like cleaning it off, and basically we'll then get to the stage of like welding it back together. So I'll knock you off for now, I'll be back soon. Right, as you can see there, that's nice and smooth around there now. All that big lump of block crap's gone. So when the exhaust goes back on and you look down from above, you won't see that block sticking out where the active exhaust flap was. Obviously the hole I'll fill up with weld, and I haven't lost any thick. This is a cast piece that's welded in the middle of two bits of pipe. That's sort of, where's the weld at? There. That's sort of, in fact that's not a weld. That piece there, sorry, the whole end, that's a cast piece that's welded onto this. Now the way I've done it, obviously I've got rid of the flap completely. So, and before anyone says anything, when the flap is closed, open sorry, that's how thick it is compared to the pipe. Just move this across a little bit and get it on. So you're blocking that much airflow through your pipe, and obviously when it's closed you're blocking the fucking lot. But if the quickest and easiest way of doing this would have been cut it off by there and just weld a piece of pipe in, but I didn't have any. It's actually 44mm, exactly 44mm. I measured it with the verniers and then went to look for a bit of pipe. Because originally I would have just cut that off. I wouldn't have bothered hacksawing through that. My arm's fucking knackered. I would never have bothered hacksawing through all that. I would have just welded a bit of pipe on. But because I didn't have any, I've just got rid of it. So it's not there now, and that's the main thing. So next thing now is we'll get this set up in a different spot where welder is. We'll fill that all up so that it's like, I'll build it up above and then I'll smooth it off again, so that'll just be one continuous pile of shit. And then I'll get this plate welded back into here, but before I weld the plate back in, I'm going to plug my die grinder in again and get a block under the end of this. I don't like it sitting on the O2 sensors. That'll do. What I'm going to... camera zoom out. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in under here and round that edge and just deburr these edges, so then there's no little strandy bits sitting in there. And then I'll give the exhaust another blowout, proper clean out, and then we'll get this welded back together. Right, back soon. Right, first things first, I'll weld this all up. Now some of this might blow away because I don't know how thin it got on the hole, that part. Just a bit there where it must have been an insert for it to sit in. So I'll just cover that up. Touch there. Fucking typical, it's starting to fucking rain, I've just put the bike outside. And what I'll do, obviously I'll clean that up a bit on the outside, but then I'll go in with my die grinder, and where it's sunk in, if it's going to cause like a major lump inside, I'll just die grind it off. But I'm just going to knock you off a sec and just push this bike in just so it's under cover. Back in a sec. Right, you wouldn't believe it, the fucking sun's shining gloriously and it keeps chucking showers. Right, where's the fucking torch? Here. Cool as, just a little tiny bit to die grind off in there. But I'm happy about that, because that's actually what I wanted. I didn't want it to just be on the surface, fucking fall out. So, get set up in a different position. It's going to be best for this. And again, I don't want it sat on the I don't want it sat on the O2 sensors, so I'll just get this positioned in such a way that I can get at it, but it's not sitting on its O2 sensors. And that should be grand. Move you a little bit. Right, so now I've got the awesome job of making sure I get that back on the right way around. Oh, that was handy. Do the right way. Now to set this up, what I'll be doing is I'll put a couple of cutting discs in each side just to get it up to it where it was level. Right, I'll just knock you off a minute and get this thing set up properly, and before I do anything I'll actually bring you back. Won't be long. Right, got the plate sitting on. I just used some welding rods to sort of prop it. You got to remember, these discs are I wonder if I've got one that isn't worn out. Supposedly a mil thick. These are 1.6. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a tack in the middle here at this top end, and obviously but in the right place. There's a bit here just to stop it rolling back down. But once I've got a tack on there, I can pull all these out, and then just line this end up and get this end tacked up. So I shall try and get this one to go without moving. that one out and leave that one in, just so I've got there. Right, so I'm going to tack on this one, and this end through there. Couple of tacks in here and there. Another couple of tacks on here. let that sit for a minute and let them tacks cool, and it'll pull itself, because the tacks will shrink. But if I weld it while they're still hot, they'll shrink even more, which will then sort of pull it in. If I let them go cold, when I come to weld it, they'll be cold, so they'll sort of help stop it pulling together. In fact, while that's going on, I'll knock you off. I'm not going to do anything at all while I knock you off. I'm just going to go and make a brew. I'll be back. By the time I come back, these will be cold and I can start welding it. Right, won't be long. Right, let's get cracked on. Just started further down than where the cut is, just because that's where the grinder cut into the steel when I was cutting it out. So I filled that bit in. I'll do it same here, I'll start off just beyond where the cut is. So that's the easy one done. This end's got a slightly bigger gap in it. I'm not actually welding the top at the minute. I'm just building up a bit of weld on the original weld. Reason being, when I cut it, it wasn't a straight cut, it came off slightly. So to build up a little bit of weld on the original bit of thinner pipe that's still sticking out, so that when I come onto it I can like weld off that onto the thinner bit of metal. Right, so that's that one. Just have a move around this pipe now to get it in a better position. Just dipped my tip. Right, I'll just knock you off for a minute and get my tip sharpened.